Good evening. Happy Monday, and welcome to Manic Mondays with Miss K. I'm your host, Miss K. We are here every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time on Attorney Vincent Davis's platform, where every parent, presumed parent, uh, I want to say surrogate parent, grandparent, or any other parent status that you are outlined with. Um, as usual, I like to take a moment of silence for our brothers and sisters that are not here, our brothers and sisters that are sick and suffering, and our brothers and sisters that keep coming back. So as usual, um it has been a maniacal Monday already. Over the course of the last couple of months, it has been a struggle. And we were supposed to have a follow-up, I guess, to the second part of Miss Ashley's story, but she'll be on at a later date. So I kind of wanted to speak about the TPR, the termination of parental rights. Now, there is a process leading up to that, but the way CPS makes us parents, they have these safety plans. They don't really ask us if, you know, we have a schedule for that or try to accommodate us with transportation or just timing. Timing is everything. And just because a person may not work at this time or may not, have adequate means to, travel to these places does not mean we as parents do not want to be involved. This overall journey is unpredictable. It is unpredictable. It is life altering. It is confusing. It is deceptive. It is hurtful. It is traumatizing. It is totally negligent. It is unfair. And most of all, it's in the damn way. So I just went to court recently and it wasn't a bad thing, nor was it a good thing. Basically, it was to outline the terms that were already outlined on April 30th court proceeding, then again on June 17th court proceeding, then again on July 17th, and now we go back to court September 11th. So the terms of the dispo were to, for myself and the children, engage in mental health services, to maintain a medication regimen, and for me to sign releases for the foster care agency to get access to either mental health records for myself and the children or medical reports or documentation showing the proof that the things that I have been advocating for well over 2 years have not been accommodated like they should have been. And for these people to have an interaction or, I want to say a history off and on with me and my children, as far as knowing allergies, knowing certain, autoimmune diseases, learning certain personalities, understanding the differences and the contraindications to medical medication that's prescribed and psychotropic medication, and how if, those things are not, I guess, investigated or checked on to see what the pros and cons are, if these medications have a contraindication, and that is usually when these medications mix. But see, what a lot of people don't know about pharmacology, and this is something I read, and this is also something that is part of my job title, because although I'm out on leave for medical. I have a whole lot of medical knowledge, way more medical knowledge than I do legal knowledge, but everything is a work in process. So I have one child that has become diabetic type 2 while in the foster parents' home. These are things that I've tried to prevent or try to be proactive in, to the point where I have told the foster care agency case planning team, the previous one, and the foster parent, who, although is not a stranger, she's not a friend, and she is not conducive. She is not for reunification efforts, and she seems to be more than willing to adopt my children because she has expressed this, you know, eagerness to steal my children. So not only do I have a corrupt system working against myself, and all the parents out here are fighting for everything, you have those corrupt friends that step in and actually smile in your face and try to steal your innocence. So it's not only CPS, it's not only CPS trying to steal your children. It is neighbors, possible family members, possible siblings, aunts, uncles, extended family. And I'm not saying that to bash family. I'm saying that because we as parents, especially the offending parents that have either a history of, whether it be substance abuse, mental health issues or diagnosis, um, you've had previous cases, you have domestic violence on the back end, you may have had foster care in your life as a child being awarded the state, or, whatever your situation may be that gets you to give these people access. Because once they get in, it's like they never leave. But you can never get them out, and then they're just sitting there like, double dutch, waiting to jump in. And it's a hit or miss. And at the point that we parents get, I am overwhelmed. I am exhausted. I am mentally tired, financially drowning, and medically over it. Because you cannot tell me an agency that was supposed to provide these things since July 17th, that were ordered to do after the fact finding was determined and the decision was given. So again, I was found guilty of neglect based on me having a mental illness that, quote, sometimes makes me lose touch with reality and put my children in unsafe situations based on impulsive behavior. And the only way to achieve permanency is through adoption. So they blatantly, in so many words, told me, we're stealing your kids and you can't say anything about it. But like Mr. Davis said, you can always appeal. There are a lot more yeses than nos when it comes to case law for New York City regarding appeals for, to overturn the verdict for TPR. So, I'm trying to remain positive. I'm trying to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And earlier today, I was I was watching a couple of my old interviews with various liaisons on Mr. Davis's platforms. And I came across the show that was, I think it was Office Hours with Mr. Davis and Mr. Guy, Mr. Darren Guy. And this is when I first became an attorney, first got sworn in. And so I was still fresh and new. I didn't have any like resources. I didn't have any pull, but I had access. So I remember Mr. Davis said, make sure you get evidence and get it admissible. You have to follow the rules of evidence and the rules of procedure. So, once I was able to get access to the social worker's notes, the delivered service logs, and previous case file from beginning, which was almost 12 years ago now, until January 6th is where I got them up to, and I still have to, update from January until now. But I say that to say this. I have asked for trauma-based therapy for almost 27 months now from the last case that did not have heart share involved, but had an alternative to removal where someone that was cleared that could stay in the home to supervise was given that option. And it worked pretty good. But, as CPS finds things, excuse me, along the way, they tend to invade your privacy, your character, and just destroy any possible things that will put you in a place where your parenting will not be questioned, regardless of what history you may have, what background you have. People change. Like this is, people change. That's all I can say because this I can't even. I have to close my eyes because it's like the words I want to find to use are like right on the tip of my tongue. And I don't really want to explain too much into detail what I'm dealing with, but as of right now, I have walking pneumonia. So that's not good. And no matter what I'm doing that is positive for my children, these people have yet to honor the therapy that was outlined on the disposition after the decision. So you cannot possibly tell me that although I have given the proper documentation for clinicians, from clinicians, I should say, my children's therapist and psychiatrist, my psychiatrist and therapist, there's letters from within the community showing that there are things that need to be addressed within those one-to-one sessions between myself and the doctor or the therapist and my children and their up. So you cannot tell me if things are being disclosed and they could actually help with healing myself and my children, because there are various things that trauma-based therapy could have helped with. But I see that, I don't know what I'm doing wrong because I feel like I am really causing my own insanity. Because no matter what I do, what I prove, what I feel like these workers should be held accountable or take ownership for, this qualified immunity is in the way too. Because it's like these people can pick and choose what rules they want to follow, but yet let them tell you you haven't, followed a parenting plan. Honestly, I never agreed to a parenting plan. I completed my services on my own, and they were already done before my children even were remanded from school, mind you. So there was no exigent circumstance, and there definitely wasn't no warrant. So, you took my children and just didn't tell me anything based on me having a history, based on me being combative. And like I said, the show that I watched with Mr. Davis and Mr. Guy, he was telling me about this. And I say that as the phrase angry black woman. Do I have the same interactions with different people every time? Absolutely not. But everybody's interaction is never the same, whether positive, negative, or indifferent. So I'm a little frustrated where why would anybody be okay with taking children away from their mother if you're a mother, a grandmother, or a parent, period, no matter what type? Like it is custodial interference because you slide in, you manipulate these children, brainwash them, corrupt them, and then have them turn back around on the people that they are fighting to come home to. Like these parents are breaking their necks, busting their asses. I know I am one of them and I am exhausted. And every day is a different day depending on how I feel. But y'all have to remember that adults are cruel. And honestly, I'd rather have a 2-year-old throw a temper tantrum than a 41-year-old acting like a little kid. These grown people stomp around and fall out all over the place after they have either mistreated you, wore out your welcome, or betrayed you and used your children as poisonous arrows in the crossbow. Like, that disgusts me. And it's like until I do the whole angry black woman taunt and rant and rave, or before I get manic and now I am talking a mile a minute because I have to make sure I get every important detail in before they cut me off, or before they have to go to a meeting that, they called suddenly, coincidentally, every time I call. If I call them directly, nobody answers. All voicemails are full. But if I call through the secretary, she's the only secretary I know that does not know how to work the phone that's outlined in her job scope. But yet, Heartshare has so many, excuse me, so many unnecessary inter-office policies. I had to make sure I get the right word. Inter-office policies, because even policies that stand for one office, even they're under the same umbrella. One office has their own inter-office pros and cons. But the office in Brooklyn on Utica Avenue doesn't have that. But the office on Jamaica Avenue has that, or the office at 66 Borum has that. So when these people actually do their job, that is when they're either transferred or forced to resign or just ultimately shuffled to another department. So as soon as you get progress, it's like there's a revolving door of incompetence. And like Mr. Davis always says as well, do you want to get justice or do you want to win? And I want to win. Justice can come always later on the back end if necessary or if it's supposed to be. So, the fact that I do suffer with bipolar, and because my truth and my transparency seem to be a blessing and a curse in itself, it's a blessing because lying is hard to keep up with, especially with the photographic memory that I have. And based on, my history of, illicit drug use. Some of those things have been forgotten because in the medical profession, they have something in the back of your brainstem called the hippocampus. And as stress increases, especially in a place that you're supposed to be safe, such as your castle, which is your home, it tends to shrink it. And then you start to forget things. And I mean little things, but pertinent and important things, such as spelling, one, the word there, or you'll forget what kind of there was, like, the conjunction, they are, or their like location, or their like belongings. So you mix those things up. And I'm not saying that to give a education level. I'm saying that between the amount of psychological warfare, parental alienation, custodial interference, the brainwashing, the abandonment, the separation anxiety, and the failure to honor court orders, policy, and job scope, this is disgustingly disappointing. And at the end of the day, like, why would you want to separate parents from their children? Now, it's one thing to be consistently unsafe, where these are daily things as though your children are around just drunks all day long, or the child is getting drunk and they're not even old enough to sit out the booster seat. But again, I say that to say this: everything is blamed on a parent. There's never any blame on the babysitter, because ultimately, we as the parent, we left the child there, right? So again, we have to provide for this child that we had to leave in someone else's care, because we have to pay to keep providing for that child, to keep paying to put them in someone else's care. You see how the circle or the upward and downhill spiral goes, as far as we as offending parents or parents that are under the knife or scrutiny when it comes to CPS are always put under pressure to the point where they try to break us. And we are not broken, but we are definitely bending Gumby style. So, I am a person that is dependable. That is one of my most respected qualities, character traits. I don't care what type of night I had, whether I was in the life back then before my children, whether I was actively using back then. Like, there's a lot of things that could possibly put a hindrance in me making a commitment to either children or another family member or a relationship or entanglement situation, or just ultimately friend with benefits. So, again, nobody seems to ever have a problem with anything that you do when they get to play in the reindeer games. But when they're not part of the sister circle anymore, they take your innocence, throw them in the crossfire, just basically load up and just kill every piece of motivation that allows you to continue to do this fight. Because how do you expect parents to stay structured, to stay motivated, to stay stable, especially if you know what type of history they have when those things are involved? Is this healthy for the parent, especially if it's putting a hindrance in the reunification? If these people are allowing or enabling certain disrespectful, illegal, and unconstitutional behavior keep happening, then what do we have to look forward to as far as a system that we have to trust, that will basically respect what it says, or rewrite policies when policies are outlined or outdated, so nobody has to be responsible for anything. I'm sorry, anything. Nobody has to be responsible. My child missed, and this made me furious, because this is where the pickle lies. My children were going to camp. I just recently, you know, got that information, after the children were already, I think, 3 weeks in. Cool. My 12-year-old was suspended for the rest of the summer out of the camp. I'm not sure if it was a physical altercation or a verbal altercation, but she was suspended for the rest of the time for camp. When she came onto the court proceeding July 17th, she did not have really too many nice things to say. And honestly, again, I come from an era where children are seen and not heard. So I'm just trying to lay out the foundation to let you know where I'm going with this, because I know I jumped around a lot, but I always come back to what I'm saying, and I don't leave anything unexplained, unfinished, or misunderstood. And that's where I'm going with my next subtopic: marriages and relationships when it comes to CPS interaction and what they have the right to do, don't do, or ultimately bias us against, as usual. What can we be targeted for in new marriages or in new relationships, especially one, if they don't have CPS history, or two, if they have witnessed the corruption that CPS, foster care agencies, or other entities regarding, children's well-being. If they know the dirty, the dark, dirty little secrets, and they are not fully, invested or involved in these things that were prior to, you and your new relationship or new entanglement or a new vacation, whatever may be your reasoning or what your title or whatever outline you may give the person that you are confiding in. I don't feel safe nor healthy in a place where traitors live. And I'm going to run that back one more time. I don't feel safe in a place that traitors live. Because CPS comes, I don't know if you guys were too aware of it, but CPS comes and talks to your neighbors, to the children's, educators, to any miscellaneous activities, to the clinicians such as medical and therapeutic, to the pharmacist. I never even knew that was an issue. But yet, my children were being seen by a mental health institution for I want to say a little over a year or a little under a year, between 10 months and probably 13 months. But they were seeing them illegally because the foster parent filled out the consents and the intake packet. So when I humbly, reached out to OMH, which is the Office of Mental Health, I was trying to establish how much people were concerned about either their licenses, their job scope, their pension, their retirement, or their check to check, because balance is looking low. So I want to know, as a parent with multiple certifications, a few degrees, and for those of y'all that think, I don't have this education, my mother's a doctor of education. And although we don't really see eye to eye, we are working on that because they have come around. So, it's not going to be something that happens overnight. But as long as the effort is put forward, I'll meet you halfway every time. Which leads me to domestic violence. Now, nobody's perfect. The only thing that's perfect is our innocence. I say that every show. Don't ever give up the fight, parents. Don't ever give up the fight. Innocence is worth it. Every blood drop, every sweat droplet, every tear you cry, every ache, pain, broken bone, or dislocated whatever. In layman's term, the way military does it, hoorah. That means we are all for that, because anything, everything, and all the things give parents that sprinting motivation to keep our children, or I should say, our innocence, safe, healthy, happy, loved, educated, and cared for by those people that value innocence and its purity. Because once you tarnish the innocence, what do they have left to look forward to or to think that somebody is going to be there for them? I would never wish any defamation, character, ill intent, or hurt to anybody's child. Everybody knows me. I'm Miss KK. I am Miss KK, and I talk to every child with the love and respect that I would my own. I am valued in my community. And I'm not saying that to try to, get the jumper, the 3-pointer, Jordan. But I'm just saying, like, you can't, you can't put a price on family. You can't put a price on trauma, but you can definitely put a label on psychosis. And these are the things that CPS, foster care agencies, case planners, case workers, the very few that are licensed, EMS personnel, clinicians, educators, and other entities within. I know I just said I have walking pneumonia. You would never think that because I pushed through everything, everything. And instead of using a bottle cap or a bottle rocket, no, I gotta use the M80. Instead of using like a Roman candle, no, I gotta use the tsunami, the Kawasaki. So I always have to go above and beyond. I'm an extremist. And you, as a foster care agency or a CPS worker, definitely did not. I don't care what drugs they think I may be on, what mental health diagnosis I may have. I am lucid, not a danger to myself or anybody else at this time. I am completely compliant with medication, so that would be med adherent. And I am engaging in mental health services, medication management monthly, and one-to-one didactic therapy twice monthly. But I think I'm gonna have to go up on that because one day or twice a month, I don't think that's fair that we have to hold on to everything for 2 weeks, deal with everything else on the back end, and then expect us to not fall flat on our ass. And excuse my language. You are putting us in a place where you make us comfortable with the level of uncomfortability. And because we, as people that are just, and I want to say we, because I started living like that as well, but that was not my original intention. I call it Project Bougie. Everybody has their own terminology for, the finer things in life are what you're going to have. But just because you don't live in a Hollywood Hills mansion does not make you less than. If you work hard and you persevere, you can get anything anybody else can get. So why can't I get my kids back? Why can't I get the foster care agency to honor the ICPC? Why am I constantly getting resistance for things that I've asked for regarding this case from July 1st when Mr. Rampersor came on? So, it's amazing how all these people are, points of contact, but yet there's no point in talking to them. They don't empty out their voicemail, so you can't even make other points. And when you point out their negligence, they quickly point you to the door. So I'm trying to see where in this scenario, based on connect the dots, where do these outlines eventually end up and who do they penalize? I'll wait. So I'll take CPS / foster care for 1,000, Alex. That's the daily double. It's I've been thinking about a lot of prior orders, previous proceedings, previous cases, and various people that I met during that, along the journey. And you cannot put people in a box. I mean, ultimately, that would be the end result. But you just can't go around just boxing people up just because you don't like their way of living, their type of music, their culture, or just overall the way their face looks. Because then they are no longer the guilty party. One, because they walked away until you initiated. So When these people do things in regards to your children that they have no legal, no parental, no medical, and no religious reason to just be unnecessary. That's it in a nutshell. Unnecessary. Because if the average social worker would do their job, there would not be so many unlicensed planners. That means they didn't have to hire extra people to do double the work to steal double the money and snatch double the children. Because as many a times as people have come to this house, they have raised themselves up. I have assisted them with acquiring resources because I know maybe the go-to person, or because I was polite with those people, because like I said, everybody's initial impression of me is not the same. Some people think I'm disconnected or detached. Some people I think I'm aloof. Some people think I'm just manipulative. And then there's me. And I don't know honestly what I would categorize myself as, but I know I am non-binary. So I say that to say this: just because you become a different gender, identifying a different way when it comes to gender. Now look, the world has come out with, binary, non-binary, transgender. Like there's LGBTQ everywhere. Everybody should have the right to live life on their terms, on life terms. But it is disgustingly treacherous for, people to literally know us, like literally can walk around in pajamas type, everybody. So why do people act like they don't know who you are, or the ones that do speak up for you in your positive realm? Why are they targeted with getting their children removed if they don't participate? That's entrapment. That's entrapment, and that is not going to be tolerated. And I'm just like, so, I want to say I'm so livid because my daughter turned 10 June 30th, right? My ex husband had requested a visit for this birthday. My child was seen on Facebook on my story when honestly parole didn't know he was here. So not only did you not get furlough or leave or permission to come from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to New York, but you violated the court order that was never in place, that was never established, and that was never approved. So, regardless of what the case may be, everybody is just all over the place. Nobody has to honor anything that makes them an adult, an accomplice, illegal, or detrimental. But yet, I'm not a person that can hold off. I'm not a person that can assist people with the things they need when most of y'all cannot reciprocate anything anyway, anywhere equal to what I can, physically and dance wise. So it's like when I'm trying to wrap my head around the insanity. And again, I know I jump back and forth, but again, I have to put things out there to show. Although I may be bipolar, I am not delusional, nor do I want to win at all costs, because the children's attorney said I have a win at all costs attitude, but he has an addict to addict off the wagon attitude. And every time I address that, it seems to be a problem because all addicts know another. And although you may not be indulging as of right now, you have reservations. So tighten up, because your judgment too can be impaired because you thought I cared. So, like, the insanity is real. The amount of unnecessary resistance, betrayal, coercion, deception, theft, larceny, and ultimate lies straight in your face on a piece of cardboard like it's a rainy day, or I should say another day. There are no type of reasons for that. There's no reason for that. But I bet you if it was something that the offending parent had done, one, you wouldn't be hearing about it anywhere, unless it was to embarrass the parent, and two, to let them know that he's not going to be a problem. She's not going to be a problem. But when you become a problem, there's nobody there to give you your due process, to give you your props, give you your flowers, or whatever other seeds, seedlings, spore, or whatever else you want to use. The insanity is real. The definition is definitely real. But why do I, as the friend or the other parent with the offending accent, with the offending allegation, I don't like to do people the way they would do me, because although they may not have the space for them, I believe every child is innocent. Every child. So, innocence is not something to be played with. It is not something that you can pick and choose when you want to honor it. It is not something that if it comes your way, you'll see if you can pick it up. No, you will do what you're designated to do, that is outlined on the policy, your job scope, and the duties that lie wherein. Because what you're not going to do is be a part-time worker, because y'all are already part-time. So what's that, a quarter? So a quarter's worth of being a case planner. You opened a box, you did something, I don't know. But all I'm saying to this is, how much are we supposed to take as parents before we actually break, before we actually snap? And this is something that is legal, because this is what I see. A state that stole somebody's child, documentation was not given, correspondence wasn't given, but they rolling like needles in a haystack during school hours frolicking. So now they come, back, and I'm wondering all the weight that's put on them. So I'm like, okay, based on family history, we are predisposed to diabetes, predisposed to coronary artery disease, and predisposed to asthma all around. So you, as a foster parent or a CPS agency, you can play and frolic in the water, in the park behind the area where everything was supposed to go. But now it's bigger than Nino Brown. It's bigger than Nino Brown, and it's just like, I don't even know where to start, where to stop. Even though when, like, I think the sixth or seventh module, and like Mr. Davis said, do you want to be right or do you want to win? Because I want to win, and then I could be right later on the back end. But what I'm not gonna do is keep playing right, keep getting embarrassed and played right in my face, because nobody can tell the truth. Nobody can tell me what happened, and we are not gonna have a repeat. So when this bag was when this closure happens, I just want to know, to the parents out there, reach out to me on Facebook, and put your answers in a poll in my messenger. I just want to take a quick, like, not, the poll will be open for the next 3 days. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run a poll for the next 3 days. And Mr. Davis, you guys can participate as well. But I want to see, how many times have you stated that you did not get a visit? Put that in one column. Then I want you to state how many times that you had a case, and you were unemployed at the time, but when you came there, you have the same status as the people that, the caseworkers for the people in the shelter. But now you have that access to do so, and all you did was watch what she did. But you won't hire somebody that has an actual field license that could actually be good, and that keeps the person on the straight and narrow. Because shaking children, or I should say, I'm not saying shaking children. When you kind of like constantly pick, or poke, it doesn't make it easy for reunification services to be implemented, because they'll make it seem like you don't have a bond. They'll make it seem like, you are causing harm to the child. And if any CPS workers, agencies, or chain of custodies are going, it is very hard to not be upset not be overwhelmed, not be depressed, not like a I'm trying to find the best way to describe just about every emotion. I am a cornucopia of unresolved confusion, past trauma, hurt, disappointment, disconnection, detachment, destruction, and devastation. And most of all, love, because that's where it started. So I really want to know why we don't have that one-to-one option when it comes to a release. Everything that a parent does, everything that a parent does not do, and everything we ask for, that is in the best interest of our children, because the better we are, the better they can be. And I want her to be all that she can be. And where I'm not going to keep playing a part in is I'm not going to just keep allowing the ruffles to be feathered, or the feathers to be ruffled. This is a big city, and you ain't the only game in town when it comes to the well-being of my child. Now, as far as when domestic violence is something that continues, it continues, but it's not continuing in the way that it was. See, whenever the allegation is DV, sometimes, or I should say most of the time, we as females do not have the option to just, check out. No, they send them to your home with this one little ticket, and they want to make sure that you are not posing a problem to anybody. But yet nobody thinks it is safe or wise for the children to have interaction with me. But you're running around in these projects unsupervised by yourself, and on a Monday at that. So you should be halfway to bed. I don't know why. I just, sometimes, and just to let you guys know, I've been trying to get, another second opinion. These people have put me to a point where I thought I was I thought I was stressed to the point where I was losing time or maybe blacking out. But I'm not an alcohol drinker. My history is drugs. That right there has, nothing on the back end. But I say that to say this. Anything and everything that CPS could possibly do to aid in any reunification efforts whatsoever, it would be an eye for an eye. But what my problem would be is that people don't tend to honor their commitment or honor it in a timely fashion, because now they know I get fed up. So I'll eventually fix it for myself. So now that I fixed something for a family here, a family there, a family here, a family here, but I can't fix anything for my family right here. But I have all the resources, I have all the tools, I have all the possible, supports or information that will make this go this and this stay right here. But it's like, they want to just ram everything at you one time. Everything is like boom, 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 boom. And they expect you to be able to just keep up. So even though we sleep, we rest, parents get exhausted. Parents get exhausted. I feel like crap today right now. That's why I have to keep taking my glasses on and off, because I'm running a fever, but yet I'm super duper hot. So I don't even know how to explain it. But I just want to let y'all parents know, mental illness, it is real, but that does not dictate who you are. That is your diagnosis. That is not your personality. That is your diagnosis. That is not your label. And honestly, it's not like the things that you try to assist people with or you get assistance with, people never forget it. They want to let you know that you bringing down two tiny end tables was something like a grand slam at Denny's. And I just realized it on the walk back. Everything is fine until it's not. I have clearly learned that everything is always fine until it's not. But I sent an email to the director of the foster care agency regarding the information that was given to him on Friday when my children were not present, as usual. But the foster parent had like I want to say like an interaction. So again, their stepfather and alleged father came to this said meeting and tried to do it earlier in the week. And I see that mail keeps coming there for me. So now it's like, I think I lost where I was at just now, but it doesn't even, I say that to say this. The amount of insanity that we allow ourselves to deal with, trying to either be loved, show safety, show happy, show healthy, and show love. Love is the most important thing that our children know, that we love them unconditionally. Unconditionally. Infinity times infinity, cubed to the third power. And as long as your children know, whether they want to talk to you, whether they're grown, whether you're still fighting, whether they've been adopted, just know, parents, life happens because life be lifing. But life, love, and lessons will leave you lonely or let you live it up if you love the life you live. So parents, again, never stop fighting. Innocence is worth it. And again, I'm Miss K, your host on Manic Mondays with Miss K on Attorney Vincent Davis's platform every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Remember, parents, keep fighting. Innocence is worth it. Grace?
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted. And if you go against then it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the
last ones left. Put your faith in